My name is Kycell, and I have just received horrible news, the worst possible news, while in pursuit of my work on the 22nd chapter of the Forgotten Minotaur King. I stood before Chinook, the red draconid youth, in a shocked panic. My friend, bodyguard, and co-conspirator in the infiltration of the Mindus Castle, Tristophe Myrink, had been apprehended by the forces of the Rakshasi. Our plan to infiltrate hadn't lasted a single day before completely falling apart. I feared for my captured mouseling companion, but I equally feared for my own life in the coming few moments I had left before the orc or ogre guards of the Rajalasad royal family came down to the library entrance to apprehend me and my other companion, the half-dwarven Ahani Rawu. I composed myself as best I could before the small, bipedal, dragon-like form of Chinook, as he seemed to find the news of a spy's capture the most interesting gossip he could have possibly come across.
Just imagine, Kycell, someone foolish enough to infiltrate the Rajalasad castle under false pretenses. Ha! Do you think they're trying to assassinate the princess? I heard a mouseling assaulted a guard from the princess's fiance's home kingdom just a few months back, fled with an enemy of the kingdom. Do you think it's the same rat?
If they somehow connected our escape all those months ago from Wolfkeep, then it would only be a matter of time before they connected that her partner was a scholar, and my position in the castle would be deduced in no time. Still, maintaining a calm face as best I could, I followed Chinook back towards the ogre guarding the dungeon's entrance, and only path to the library I was assigned to work. After passing through the portcullis, my now entirely racked and stressed mind saw a familiar cat-like face roaming the dungeon's cells, followed closely by a sight that made all of my fears once again resurface. Walking alongside the proper and contemplative Regent Mother Selva, the catfolk with the enormous bow, was the scion-hued, demoniac, avian and satyr-like creature that had crippled and hospitalized Mayor of Goldenrod and best source of information on the Forgotten Minotaur King, my friend Kind. The creature that referred to itself as Fugazi, and displayed incredible strength when defeating Kind. However, he walked with deference and a low-cast head when near this Selva.
Don't worry, Regent Mother. Okay, don't worry. Your daughter is safe, okay? No rat guy is gonna harm her, okay? Now, what do you think of this cell?
He pointed to various empty dungeon pens as they walked parallel to, but a few yards ahead of us. He didn't seem to be here for me just yet, and I scooted behind Chinook in an attempt to draw even less attention. That, however, was when Chinook excitedly turned to the pair just as we began to pass them, and once again gave a loud but respectful acknowledgement.
Oh, Regent Mother Selva, it's our pleasure to make your acquaintance once again. You as well, wet boy Fugazi.
Selva once again ignored Chinook as she did yesterday, but Fugazi the wet boy turned and gave the small draconid his full attention.
Hey, little guy, how's your master doing? You tell Carnager we'll need his help with this prisoner in a few moments, okay?
Chinook gave the bizarre creature Fugazi a cartoonish salute, and, whipping his posture from bowing to Selva, then stalked straight to Fugazi, dislodged the small journal Chinook had been carrying since I first encountered him. With a skip in his step, he continued down the dungeon path to the library courtyard. I nervously knelt to retrieve the book, before Fugazi deftly picked it up from the ground and held it aloft before me.
Hey, you know what this is? It's the late Rakshasi Prince Jidenistan's journal, okay? Don't let the little dragon boy lose us again. And you give him one of these.
He then playfully smacked the book onto the top of my head. Then he shoved it into my chest, nearly toppling me to the floor of the dungeon, before a clearly bored Selva cleared her throat and Fugazi quickly rushed back to her side, on loud and powerful reverse-jointed legs. I pocketed the journal and scurried away in a panic, as the two finally settled on a dark and intimidating enough cell. I continued on, my mind still swirling with potential dangers. Myrink's life was likely all but over at this point, and there's nothing that I could possibly do to help. The forces of the Rakshasi and the Mindus Castle were too overwhelmingly powerful. As I ascended the stairs, crossed the courtyard filled with freshly buried bodies of the library's night staff, and entered the hard wooden doors, I was immediately greeted with the sallow, pasty, and ancient face of Lord Natanus Half-Elven.
Dear Mycel Cockshier, I assume young Snook has told you the news. Our little prisoner, first of the castle's finding. I'm off to meet with the royal guards and aid in their interrogation.
He dreamily drifted past me without his long feet ever touching the floor surface. Inches before entering the sunlight of the courtyard, he waved his arms, and a misty aura of shadow enveloped his entire frame. Looking back, he pointed into the library with a menacing, long, claw-like hand.
Continue reading and restoring. Nearly done our first phase. Hopefully, I'll be back before my night thralls awaken for the night.
He entered the sunlight, and despite what I guessed was a protection spell of some kind, the distinct sound of sizzling flesh could be heard radiating off of Lord Carnager as he swiftly made his way into the dungeon's tower. Turning and continuing my walk into the book rooms, I found myself incapable of steadying my shaking hands and knees. Laboriously, I lifted several texts from the shelves, once again all random subjects. The irony of my final act before my likely execution at the hands of Lord Carnager, or gods forbid Fugazi, being reading ancient texts in a library, was not lost on me. I sat remorseful and sullen at where my decisions had led me and my group. Planting a stack next to me on the bench, I realized I still had the journal of that Prince Jidenistan Chinook had been carrying around for some time. It was well worn and seemed as ancient as anything in this abandoned library. I saw that Chinook had several dog-eared pages throughout the journal. I promised myself to return it to him upon our dismissal this night if I wasn't hauled off in the middle of our workday. Skimming some of the tabs reminded me of the rumors surrounding the Rakshasi family. Each bookmark had the header Secession, followed by a numeral and a date, some centuries old, and on the reverse side of the tabs was Existence, then a concurrent numeral and a date very close to the previous. The end of the Secession and beginning of the Existence portions seemed written in a far less sturdy hand, as if a child or small person was using an oversized writing implement. Many had additional headers, such as Affliction Wars, Cynocephalos Duel, Fey Sprites Prank, etc. But near the end, the final entry or so caught me off guard and caused nearly all previous fears for my life and well-being to entirely leave my mind.
Secession. CZCCXXIII. Minotaur. Parentheses. Krunterg. Dishonored sister. Parentheses. Darlessa. Father and mother requested meeting with defector Minotaur, Man Reaper, to appoint as new king in Mendes Castle and betrothed to Darlessa in Krunterg's place. Unforeseen circumstances resulted in confrontation and my death. The following details how events played out.
This was the Rakshasa at the end of Kind's tale before the attack. This was the next part of Krunterg's tale. I couldn't believe how serendipitous this was. I began to ferociously read all of the following pages of the journal, and what I learned was truly shocking.
Hi, my name is Matthew Lewis, and I do the voice of Kycell Bakshi, along with all the additional voices in The Forgotten Minotaur King. I hope you enjoy the podcast and continue to listen into the future. If you want to support my content, please donate to my Patreon, Matthew Lewis Podcasts. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Matthew Lewis Podcasts, all one word. Follow me on Twitter at Matthew Lewis P. Or leave a positive maximum star review on your podcast app of choice. If you found this podcast, I assume you're familiar enough with the genre to know how important reviews are to the survival of a channel. And I hope you recommend this to your friends. Or if you didn't like it, you could recommend it to your enemies, and I'll teach them a lesson. Keep it sleazy, folks, and thank you.